Hi everybody, how you doing? Right, today I'm in Oldham. Specifically, you know where I am. I'm in my most favourite place, which is Cheriton Cemetery. Now, the reason why I'm here is I was going to tell you the story of a celestial sight. So years and years ago, in fact, you know what? I'm going to tell you the bloody story. So years and years ago, and I'm going to tell it from here because if I'm really honest with you, I can't work out where this place was. So if anyone can help me out, please do so. But there used to be a place called Springbok Works, and it was a bleaching factory. Now, many years ago, back in the 30s, there were various different sightings of an angel that would be that was sort of above the above the bloody works, and many people have seen it, and it weren't just seen on one occasion. It was seen regular, and it was said that in the summer it would cast a fiery glow, if you like, and in the winter when people saw it, like in cold times, you would see like frosting on the wings. One person suggested it was, like, I don't know, you see that angel there on top of that, or that angel down there, for instance. You know, you get angels on top, and they were suggesting that maybe it was a cast of a shadow. The reason why I'm telling the story from here is because it's relevant to Oldham. It was in the 30s. I don't think anyone's seen it since, but since Springbok, or whatever it's called, that's been knocked down. And I don't think there's been any modern day sightings. However, there's plenty. I think it was the Oldham Evening Standard that reported it. In fact, the fella who started the Standard, I'm pretty sure it was the Standard. He's buried down there. I can see his gravestone now. Featured him in another video, so we're not going to do that. We're going to stop at a couple of places. We're going to go up to St Mary's. I want to tell you the story of a ghost or haunting up there. I'm going to call at the underpass because I want to tell you the story of that. We're also going to be calling to up near Lees Road because I want to tell you the story of the demon and Hartshead Pike. And anything else that I see in between. Oh, and we're going to look at the story of Springale Jack, or a character very similar, over on Edgerton Street. So yeah, I'll see you shortly. Right everyone, so we're just on Henshaw Street, got the Civic there in the distance, the Oldham spindles there. Henshaw Street, by the way, goes all the way up to Oldham Edge, or it does do, and there used to be houses that ran right up here. This, what we're looking at here, used to be the Buff Club a few years back. And here used to stand an house. And it was in the Oldham Chronicle in the 30s. I think it was 33. And I can't remember the name of the family. I'll put it in if I can remember. But basically, they had an haunting. And this ghost, basically, was claimed to be the ghost of the woman who lived in the house for many years before. And apparently she'd said, while she was still alive, that what she was going to do, she was going to come back and haunt whoever lived there. She was going to return. Anyhow, it was reported that there was many things going on, scratching through walls, lights flickering off, and this ghost was quite nasty. And what it would do is it would try and push the mother down the stairs. At one time, the children, let's go on to the site of it. At one time, the children said that they were coming down the stairs and the ghost was on the stairs and it had its hands on either side of the wall, preventing them from coming back. In the end, the Oldham Chronicle got involved and wrote a piece on it. So the house was still standing up in the 60s because my granddad used to show it to my mum and my auntie and tell the story. That's how I first heard about it. But I think it was in the 1970s when they demolished it, and since it's just been used as a car park for what was the Buff Club and now is the nursery. Incidentally, where the Buff Club stood here, this used to be the site of the house of one of the mayors of Oldham, who's buried in Cheriton Cemetery. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go down Edgerton I'm going to tell you the story on Edgerton Street, and then we're going to go and tell you the story about the demon that came to Oldham. Right, everybody, we're now on Edgerton Street, and that over there in the distance is the wall that encases Bluecoat School. Edgerton Street was the site of the slum clearance in the 1960s, and then with the clearance of all the terraced houses, that's when they put up all of these flats. But we're not here to talk about the flats today. We're here to talk about a sighting of, and it would be this area, because this is the highest point of the wall. And basically what happened was there was reports in the Oldham Chronicle. Many people saw this. And basically what happened was there was a creature of some description that was capable of scaling this wall. Now, if you're familiar with this wall, you know that it's, alright, yeah, you've got brick blocks, you could probably try and climb it, but it's not going to be the easiest unless you've got some mountain climbing equipment, I would imagine. But they liken this creature to Spring-Heeled Jack, and it was seen on many of occasions, and it scaled the wall very quickly. Probably in the same way as maybe a spider would, you know, a spider when it runs up your wall. And it was in the form of a fella, you know. That's why they likened it to Spring-Heeled Jack. But this wall's been here for many years, and there's been many sightings over the years. In fact, there's a lot of sightings around here. My auntie was just telling me about an incident when she lived on Brackley Street, which just used to run up here. Some of the houses are still there, and they used to run down. And she told me when she was a kid, she was outside on the front, and she looked to the left over the edge, and she saw 5 orange balls of light that were just hovering in the air and then just fired off. So really strange. And then of course my mum saw that ghost that I mentioned in part 1 of this little series that I'm doing. So there's a lot going on. And I'll tell you one other story. In the 60s, my granddad was coming home from his job, or maybe he'd been for a pint, I'm not sure. But basically, he was walking over Oldham Edge, and he said he heard a noise behind him. And I'm going to tell you another story which we're going to talk about on Wilk Street. But he said that he heard a noise behind him, and when he turned round, he said it was a bright white horse running towards him, ghostly. And then it just disappeared. So, very strange. So, what we're going to do now, we're going to go down towards Grinnickers Way, because I want to, or Top of Lees Road, I want to show you where the demon is nowadays and what the story is. Right, everybody, I'm just at the back of Lees Road, so that's Lees Road service station there, and those houses there, this is Terrace Street. You see how the houses bend round? They're absolutely fantastic. Really unusual, just in the middle of an industrial estate. But the reason why we're here, and this is an old Sunday school, this. I've got a story about this place. I'll tell you that in another video. But anyway, I wanted to show you this area specific, and I'm going to tell you the story of a chap who was friends with my great-grandfather. And the story he told him one night in the pub is as follows. We'll just have a walk up here while I tell you the story. So basically, he'd been up by he'd been up by sorry, this woman's trying to run me over. He'd been up by Artshead Pike. That's Bluecoat School there in the distance, if you can see it. But he'd been up by Artshead Pike, and it was a foggy night, and somehow, I mean, he knew he was familiar with the area, but not familiar enough in the fog to sort of find out where he was going. So what he did is carried on driving down this road, and it were a proper pea super. You know, one of those where you can't see too far in front. And this was actually in the 1930s in Oldham. Now, he was in a vehicle, and I was told as a story it was some form of like army vehicle held over from, you know, like maybe during the war. I'm not too sure, but anyway, this is the story. So he was up that way, got caught in this pea super, got confused, couldn't find his way back to Oldham, and he saw this fella in the distance, stood at the side of the road in like a Mac. So It mustn't have been too far in the bleeding distance because he couldn't see. But anyway, he ended up stopping by this fellow, and he was just stood at the side, this bloke. And he looked a bit odd. And he says to him, "Hiya, can you help me? Like, you know, I'm trying to find my way to such and such, to Oldham town centre, and I've lost my way." And this fellow was like dead creepy. And he gave him directions, and he just pointed, and he says, "It's down there," like that, with a voice like that. He says, and something in him just made him think, what? Like, this isn't normal. And for whatever reason, he said he had a right strange look about him, this fella. He says, but for whatever reason, he looked down, and his feet, right? His feet were hooved, right? And then when he looked back up and saw his face, it were really sort of like demon-like and not nice at all. Anyway, suffice to say, he were a bit shaken, and he just put his foot down and set off. Anyhow, eventually he managed to make his way back home. And when he got in, wife was in the kitchen, kids were sat at table scriking, and wife were all worked up. He says, "What's up, love?" She went, "There's something upstairs. I think an animal's got in through one of the windows." And you could hear like this banging and crashing, this thing running around upstairs. Anyhow, he ended up going up the stairs, and nobody knows what went on in that bedroom. Nobody. But there was a hell of a lot of banging, hell of a lot of strange noises and screaming. And then a few minutes later, he came back downstairs, and he had a coal sack that he must have had it, you know, from coal or whatever that they'd had in. He had a coal sack thrown over his shoulder, and his wife went, "What's gone on?" And he said, "Don't ask me about it." But as he walked out through the kitchen and out the door, there was a hoof hanging out of the bag at the back, a hoof, right? Now, the rumour is, this is what he told my great-grandfather, he said he took the body, and what he did is he brought it to this area on Terrace Street, and it's buried, or was buried, underneath one of these factories here, these modern factories. Bear in mind, this was in the late 20s, early 30s, I'm not entirely sure of the date, but there wasn't any factories here then, it was just wasteland and fields, and he buried it. Once he'd done that, he went to the pub, obviously needed a drink, you need a drink after that, and he told my great-grandfather everything about what had happened, and he said it was a demon, or it had hooves for feet, it wasn't human, and it was in the bedroom, and it was the thing that had stopped up at Hartshead Pike. It was the same thing, and it followed him home. And apparently, the rumour is, if you talk about it, it comes after you. So we'll just have to see if it turns up at my house in Barnsley tonight. But I will say, there was some strange noises there last night, scratching through the walls, and all sorts going on. So maybe it's preempted that I'm going to tell the story, because I've been saying I'm going to tell it for a few days now. So there you go. Right, that's the end. Let me know what your thoughts are about these stories. I'm going to do a part 3 because there's still a few other bits and pieces I want to do. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Everyone, right, just before I go home, we're down on Greenockers Road. Now, I am going to show you something now. In fact, there's a name above. We'll have a look at that. I'm going to show you something on these four houses. To be fair, Michael from Oldham Vaults, I think, first showed this, or he showed it to me anyway. But I want to show you. My auntie just pointed it out to me now. Can you see these heads above these doors? You've got a beautiful lady. It's actually called something, this row of houses, so we'll have a look. This is like an old Turkish man. Can you see? And then we've got another lady here. They're all 4 different. I don't know why they're here like this, or what they are, or what they're used for. Look at him. How fantastic is that? He's like an old cavalier. Now there's a name above the houses. Just wait till I get across the road. See, it's Bindles at distance there, and then Oldham Church there on the right. Anyway, let's have a look what the houses are called. Cambria. Cambria Terrace, it's called. Someone's looking out the bedroom window, so I don't want them to think I'm filming the house. Well, I am really, aren't I? But Cambria Terrace, 1871. I'll do some research, see if I can find out why they're there. Maybe they were like shops at some point, maybe, or I don't know. They're unusual. But anyway, I'm done for today now, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.